What does it mean to be a citizen? And we're throwing around citizenship like frisbees every day. You're a citizen, you're a citizen, you're a citizen. And it dilutes the meaning of the citizen, of what it means to be a U.S. citizen. We need to bring it back to actually say, hey, you have to earn your citizenship. You are not given your citizenship.
So the children who... A child doesn't choose to be born between someone who comes here illegally.
So Charlie Kirk says you have to earn your citizenship, B, you're not giving your citizenship.
Charlie, how you doing this afternoon? I am proud to be conservative. I'm proud to be an American, and I think we would agree on most things. But one thing that I'm here to dispute you on is
Israel?
Trump's executive order to overturn birthright citizenship.
Oh, okay.
Which you posted on X 2 months ago that the Supreme Court has never reviewed the 14th Amendment regarding birthright citizenship.
Not correctly yet.
Have you heard of Wong versus Kim Hark?
Yeah,
or
it's
Wong
a
versus
BS.
America. What about
I'm drawing from a lot of memory on this,
though.
so I'm gonna have to plead a little bit of
That's fine.
memory erosion.
I have a shallow understanding, but both of those cases ruled that regardless of national origin, the children of immigrants will become U.S. citizens.
It's not just the children of immigrants. It's not just that.
The exception for diplomats.
The children of visitors become U.S. citizens.
Right, and
so for example, a pregnant woman can leave China who's 8 months pregnant, get a 90-day visitor visa, and then her baby becomes a U.S. citizen.
How is it being?
That's facts. That's actually true. That's facts. This argument or this debate is about Donald Trump's executive order on birthright citizenship, and I honestly think that executive order was overturned. I don't know all the details about it, but that's what they're debating today. The student says he's conservative, however, he disagrees with this specific order. Charlie Kirk probably agrees with the order, and I'm going to give my opinions later on, but I hope this is a good debate. Comment down below who you guys think is going to win. Let's get into it.
Being implemented now. If you come here illegally, your children are what? What are they?
They become U.S. citizens.
And that's the Supreme Court precedent. So the executive order to overturn it is illegal.
No, it's very much legal. It's challenging the prior Supreme Court decision. But let's go back to my example. You can fly to China and literally just come here as a visitor, show up at a hospital, and they will give you a U.S. passport, and your kid becomes U.S. citizen. You understand we are one of the only countries in the industrialized world that has birthright citizenship.
And I'm proud to be that. We are a country of immigrants. See,
we're not. No. We're a country of settlers, not of immigrants.
Okay.
That's a big distinction. Let me tell you the difference. Settlers are people that build a new country that was barren. Immigrants come to a country already built. The people who built this country, they went west to an unconquered, barren country and built a new society. Immigrants helped enrich it. They helped grow it upon that. But the foundation of America were settlers, not immigrants. That is a talking point that is overused.
We have no unifying religion, no unifying race, no unifying national origin. But what we do share is that if you were born on the soil, you have an inherent birthright to the benefits of American citizenship. And
that's a huge mistake.
And that's a huge mistake. So you disagree with 200 years of precedent.
Yes.
Have you read what was discussed during the passage of the 14th Amendment?
The founding fathers, first and foremost, never wanted all of a sudden a pregnant woman to be able to get on. They didn't have airplanes back then. Go across the ocean, and all of a sudden they become a U.S. citizen.
Those who drafted the 14th Amendment did.
Yeah, the 14th Amendment was in what year?
1866.
Yeah, exactly. Way past the founding era.
So you don't agree with
the 14th Amendment was largely applicable to free slaves.
I understand that was a purpose, but it has also been extended to those who come here
Exactly. No, you're right. It has been wrongly extended. You know the 14th Amendment?
By the Supreme Court.
Exactly, and they got it wrong. Just like how they got Roe versus Wade wrong, and we got that repealed. The point being is the Supreme Court can get things wrong. The idea, it's very simple. It's that if you think you can just get on a Delta Airlines flight from Paris and all of a sudden your kid becomes a U.S. citizen, that devalues the meaning of what it is to be a citizen.
Should we hold the children who do not choose to come here accountable for their parents' actions? There are some countries that...
Well, if you're already a citizen, you're a citizen. We're not going to revoke what's already
happened. If it becomes overturned, do we want to create second-class citizens who aren't a citizen of another country?
Yes, they're citizens of another country. Go back to your own country.
Except if they come from India, they come here and a child is born. That child is not a citizen of India, nor would they be a citizen of here. Then you have
No, they are a citizen of India. That's not true.
They're not.
Yes, they are. The parents are Indian citizens, and that's how it works in India, is that the citizenship goes to the parents. So that's the point, is that they can go back to their own country and they can go.
So if you guys don't know, the order specifically targeted people who come to America on temporary visits, and I think immigrants, I think illegal immigration as well. And if they have children, then their children would not be considered American citizens. I remember when this order came out because I read this order because a lot of people were saying that they said that it would target black people, and I'm like, huh? Black people are American, right? Anyways, they said that it would target black people, and I read the order. Donald Trump specifically says people here on temporary visits. He specifically says people who illegally migrate into the country. Regarding the order, here's what I'll say. Technically, it does go against the Constitution. That's why when it first came out, judges were fighting over it. Because technically, I'm not going to say it does, but I will say this. The wording of it could possibly go against the Constitution. And I see why a judge would shut it down. However, from a fairness perspective, I definitely understand the order. Because if someone comes into America illegally, or they come here on a very temporary visit for the sole purpose of having a kid, and then their kid gets the full, I guess, benefits of being an American citizen, that does seem a little unfair, and I definitely understand people who are against it. I do, on the other hand, understand people who are for the people coming here and having kids. If you're like an absolutist for the Constitution, I will get that as well. But I can see both sides of the spectrum pretty fairly. Let me know what you guys think, though.
Live in India.
So the children should be deported as soon as they're born here.
Yes, with their parents, absolutely.
You don't think that we should give them? We shouldn't encourage them to become productive members of American society?
No.
Do you believe in the American dream?
Yes, of course, for American citizens, not for every person around the planet.
I agree. I think we all agree.
Yes, it's not our job to open up our borders to every sad story around the planet.
Exactly, the adults, but the children did not choose to cross the border. They did not choose to come here.
Okay.
They have been placed here.
Exactly, so don't punish them by separating the mom and dad. They can all go back to their country of origin. It's very simple.
But that's not the law. That's not how it's been. Do you think that would be productive for American society?
Hold on. That's an interpretation of the 14th Amendment. We're talking about two different things. We're talking about birthright citizenship, and then we're talking about kids that are crossed when they're already born. The point being is this, and President Trump's executive order is phenomenal. It goes back to this very basic question. What does it mean to be a citizen? And we're throwing around citizenship like frisbees every day. You're a citizen, you're a citizen, you're a citizen. And it dilutes the meaning of the citizen, of what it means to be a U.S. citizen. We need to bring it back to actually say, hey, you have to earn your citizenship. You are not given your citizenship.
So a child doesn't choose to be born between someone who comes here illegally and someone who is already a citizen.
So Charlie Kirk says you have to earn your citizenship. You have to be you're not giving your citizenship. I'm assuming he's talking about through ancestry. When he says that claim, meaning that your ancestors earned their citizenship either through the legal routes or I don't really know how you can earn citizenship. And I'm not trying to, go at him, but aren't you literally given citizenship? Meaning that when I was born, I was given citizenship. Unless he's saying like you earn it through ancestry. Which, I guess that makes sense, I guess that makes sense. I will say I'm a little confused. Did the student actually read the order? Maybe he did. But when I first read it, and I don't want people to attack me, it didn't seem like a crazy executive order. Donald Trump has written a lot of executive orders. But this one specifically, when I read it, it honestly made sense. Because if you look at other nations like China, Russia, places like that, South Korea, North Korea, Japan, they are way more strict. They are way more strict than the U.S. And when I read this order, I'm like, it's not crazy, especially relative to them. But people are acting like this order is like insane. It's a very crazy thing to do. But it wasn't crazy to me. Let me know what you guys think.
Person did not choose that. There's no accountability.
Yes, and there's kids in Namibia that didn't, choose to be born in Namibia.
Exactly.
It's not our concern to import them.
The great thing about America is that by being here, you offer them the extension for the opportunity.
See, I disagree. I think on the surface, it's a great thing about America. I think it's us having generosity being turned into compromising our values used against us. At times, generosity can turn into an overindulgence. You could become too generous, where you are borrowing money that you don't have. We're doing that. Where you're giving citizenship where it dilutes. Yes, we are a generous nation, and our virtues have become our vices.
What does it dilute? What does a child being born here having birthright?
You know what it dilutes?
What does that take away from us?
It first of all,
they pay taxes.
First of all, number one, it dilutes a lot.
What does it dilute?
Can I get to it? Dilutes a lot. Number one, it dilutes legal immigrants that are full adults that had to apply to come here.
I agree. So we should stop illegal immigration.
Well, but there legal. I said legal immigration.
I agree.
Right. Number two is that I actually want the idea of being a U.S. citizen, that you are here or born here because your parents did something to allow you to be here. Not just that you got on a nonstop flight from Seoul, South Korea, and you happen to fall and your water breaks and you're suddenly a U.S. citizen. It devalues the entire meaning of what it means. Everybody here has a unique story of what your parents did for allow you to live in this country. That's called a social compact. Some of you guys, your parents came here, and your ancestors came here in the 1700s. Some of them came here in the early 1900s. But if all of a sudden you can gain entry and cut in line, it dilutes the sacrifices primarily of the greatest generation from World War II that allowed us to live here, and it is an insult to them to say that we can live in a free society.
I would say primarily of the people who were forcibly enslaved and had to build up the country. I would say primarily them, but his sentiment still stands. Your ancestors fought for this land. Your ancestors helped build this land up in some shape or fashion, and because of that, you are, given citizenship in the country. The Constitution doesn't directly say that. I'm assuming Charlie Kirk is more so going off of his very personal beliefs. But constitutionally speaking, the student would be more right. However, I do understand Charlie Kirk saying that citizenship shouldn't be something that's just, given just for the sake of giving. Let me know what you guys think. Do you agree with Kirk? Do you agree with the student? Anyways, LFR JoJo, now let this one go. Peace.